Hi, my name is Dr.
Gaukhar Baidildinova.
This video is a part of my lectures on evidence-based medicine and epidemiology. This lecture is dedicated to authorship in scientific articles. Publication increases the researcher's credibility and brings them fame and recognition. Criteria for authorship are defined by ICMJE, International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. Criteria for authorship: makes a significant contribution to the concept and design of the research, collects, analyzes, and interprets data, writes the article or provides critical feedback on its content, and approves the final version for publication. Individuals who provide materials or funding, such as reagents, do proofreading, i.e., editing the text for grammar and overall coherence, offer other technical services, e.g., layout, graphics, SEO optimization, conduct translation, or identify patients for the study, do not have the right to claim authorship. However, all those who do not meet the criteria for authorship should be listed in the acknowledgement section. There are 3 types of authorship to pay attention to: first, last, and corresponding. The first author is the person who makes the most significant contribution to the research work, such as obtaining and analyzing results or writing the manuscript. Essentially, who conducted the research and wrote the article. Often, to defend a PhD, a certain number of articles are required, starting with one where you are the first author. The first author is the one who suffered the most. The last author is the lead PI, who controlled, funded, or was otherwise the primary person responsible for the project. For reference, PI stands for Principal Investigator. There is also the concept of shared authorship. This is when 2 people, or in some cases 3, made equal contributions. Shared authorship can occur for the first or last authorship. For example, my article on patients with atherosclerosis. You can see that in addition to the letters indicating affiliation, Arena 10 Kate Hock and Carstens have the number 1. If we scroll down to the bottom of the page, there will be a footnote stating that 1 means shared last authorship, contributed equally. Arena was responsible for organizing the clinical study, Carstens for organizing the biochemical part of it. Since I wrote the entire text with multiple Carstens corrections, looked at all the graphs, discussed them, I am the first author. Carstens is my supervisor, who oversaw everything and edited our article. She is the last author. The order of co-authors usually reflects the relative significance of their contributions. However, since projects and contributions vary in nature, in practice, individual assessment and even negotiations between authors may be required. One can take into account the originality and extent of researchers' contributions as well as the time spent. Let's return to this article. At the end of the article, before the reference list, there is Credit Authorship Contribution Statement section, where a role of each author is described briefly using author's initials. During my job interviews, I was asked why there are so many co-authors. When you look at the methods, you should understand that organizing any clinical trial is not easy, involving many people. Furthermore, each of the methods is most often carried out by separate individuals. In this case, patient recruitment, taking medical histories, blood collection, proximity extension assay, verify now assay, and statistical analysis were all done by different people. Someone creates the graphs, and they are not always approved on the first try. The most optimal design for the graphs might not be apparent at first. Then the results need to be discussed and described, and the necessary illustrations created. This article also has a graphical abstract, which I also made. The last authors are responsible for distributing these roles. I've read that there are sometimes disputes over the order of authors, but I personally haven't encountered this. As a PhD student, I certainly didn't make any decisions here. The third main authorship, corresponding author. The corresponding author usually had the main idea and invited other co-authors or delegated tasks. The corresponding author ultimately bears responsibility for submitting the article and ensuring the overall integrity of the work. Let's go back to the article and notice that next to Carstens' name, in addition to the letters and the number 1, there is also an asterisk. If we scroll down, we see that the asterisk means Carstens is the corresponding author. This means if you have additional questions about the publication, want to collaborate or discuss something, you should contact Carsten. And this makes sense. Carsten is the lead author of this study, the person who knows the most among all of us about platelets and almost knows all the proteins discussed in this article by heart. For contact, both a physical work address and email are provided. I also have 2 paid courses on Udemy. The Critical Assessment of Clinical Studies teaches how to read and critically evaluate clinical studies. It's a very great course. The same as my second course, Scientific Writing, where I tell all the nuances of how to write a scientific article or dissertation. Links are in the description box. Since authorship is highly sought after, many unethical practices are also widespread. Ghost, guest, honorary, and gift authorships are examples of such practices. A ghost author is someone who made a significant contribution to the research or writing of the manuscript but is not listed as an author. A ghost author may be either a full-time or contracted employee of a pharmaceutical company, and thus including them in the authorship list is considered a conflict of interest. It is fair to acknowledge the contribution of such authors. The other types of authorship are based on the opposite principle, when a person is included in the list of authors but did not contribute to the work. Gift authorship refers to mutualism, i.e., the principle of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's mutual co-authorship to increase the number of publications and citations. Honorary authorship refers to those who are named as authors solely because they hold leadership positions at the institution or service where the research was conducted and may have helped secure funding. Guest authorship refers to senior authors included on the list out of respect or influence. Including their name on the authorship list may increase the chances of acceptance for publication. All of these types are considered scientific misconduct. By this slide, I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that different countries have different traditions of naming, which can lead to confusions in authorships and, subsequently, to H-index.